You have a new book out you were telling me about. Folks, I know they're going to want this book. I want this book. I've already begged you for one of the first copies of it.
Well, this book was written because a fellow from Regent College put out a 271-page booklet attacking the King James Bible called The King James Only Controversy. The writer was a man named James White, and he said, are the new versions trustworthy? And this book was written because the publishers, the NIV and the NASV, their sales dropped noticeably after Ripplinger's book came out. And after Mr. Ripplinger published her book, the sales began to drop off. So they had to do something quickly, and they got all this fellow and got his service to write this book called The King James Only Controversy. And that's 271 pages attacking the King James Bible, using the theories of Westcott and Hort from 1884, just repeating them. And it's one of the most, I documented 40 lies in the book in 271 pages. And my answer is called The Scholarship Only Controversy. Are professional liars trustworthy?
Are professional liars trustworthy?
Yes.
40 lies in his 271 pages. That's about one every 3 or 4 pages.
Going real good.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I've misstated. It's one every 6 or 7 pages.
Yep.
We'll give him more credit. He only lies every 6 or 7 pages. Okay, your book is The Scholarship Only Controversy. You said it'll be out in 3 or 4 months, right?
Yes, sir. Lord willing.
Well, Dr. Ruckman, you have a newsletter. I get it every month. I take it home immediately. I read it the first day I get it. Folks, here's how you can get Dr. Ruckman's newsletter. It's more than a newsletter. In fact, let's see, this issue I'm looking at, a 1995 issue, is about 20 pages long. There is a subscription price. Dr. Ruckman, could they get a copy, a complimentary copy free, just one?
Yeah, matter of fact, they keep sometime back copies that don't get sent out and mail them to people 4 or 5 as a sample.
Folks, I think you're going to want, I just go ahead and get a full subscription to this. You know, Dr. Ruckman's kind enough to give you a complimentary copy, but when you read it, you're going to want one anyway. Here's a toll-free number. You can call to get this. It's toll-free, 1-800-659-1478. It's entitled, by the way, The Bible Believer's Bulletin, 1-800-659-1478. The reason, my friends, I'd like you to have this is because, you know, we just have an hour on the program. It goes so fast. There's so much information. There's at least an hour or more of information in every issue of this Bible Believer's Bulletin.
Yeah, and the one right now, if they can get him now, it's running the 7 errors in the King James Bible that were proposed by James White in his book. White challenged me to a debate, and he proposed 7 errors in the King James Bible he'd prove, and I told him I'd prove he didn't know what he was talking about. And after lengthy correspondence, he backed out when I gave him the time and place. After about 8 letters between us, I told him we'd have the meeting at the Bible Baptist Church here on April Fool's Day. And when I did that, of course, he blanched and chickened out. And then he did a very strange thing. He said he was going to publish all the correspondence on fax to show what a rough, rude, crude fellow I was. But he didn't publish all the correspondence. He was afraid to publish the last letter. We just faxed the last letter and put it out. And the last letter says the debate is still open. He can come anytime he wants. And
so it's sort of like writing a new version, and he omitted some information.
Oh, that's what they're good at. And what that fellow did was chicken out, and then he pretended Ruckman backed out. I haven't backed out yet. What I'm doing now is taking the 7 errors that he was going to debate on, and I'm publishing one every month in the bulletin. We're on number 3 now. And
that's great.
All 7 of them in the bulletin.
That's great. Well, you know, this man is a great embarrassment. I have to say, I know the gentleman you're talking about, and I find it fascinating that he calls his ministry Alpha and Omega, and yet in Revelation, one of the 2 verses that use that terminology is missing in the new versions.
How about that?
He better watch out. That second citation will be missing some too very soon when they have newer translations. And
yeah, that is the worst of it. The worst of it, the passage you quoted, where he quoted him in Revelation, which you're quoting from, in that same passage where Christ calls himself the morning star. And James White is justifying, promoting two versions that call Satan the morning star in Isaiah 14.
Oh, I see. So that's why they don't like Revelation 1, verse 11, seeing that Jesus is the morning star, the Alpha and Omega. And since the new versions, almost all of them, the NIV that, as you said, James White and the other guys are promoting, they actually have Lucifer as the morning star.
That's it.
Oh, wow.
Christ is our Alpha and Omega again, you see in Revelation 22 when he closes.
Well, maybe his Alpha and Omega, unbeknownst to him, is Lucifer. I mean, you know, we know who the true Alpha and Omega is, but
Rippliger says she's probably right.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know what? I found it, I'm just going to, this little aside, I found it very humorous. Somebody told me he wrote a big missile about me recently on the internet. And he signed it very pompously and arrogantly as James White, Scholar in Residence.
Yes.
And he had some college in Arizona. I thought that was really interesting. Scholar in Residence.
Haven't earned degrees, huh?
Right. So I called up this college, and I wanted to know about, did he really have this title? And they started hedging and hem-hawing around, and they said, well, we just started this particular department. And I said, but is he there in residence? Well, no, he's not. Is he even teaching there? Well, no, he's not really teaching here now.
Boy.
I said, wait, whoa. You mean this man is calling himself a scholar in residence, but he doesn't even teach there? They said, well, next semester, about in April, he'll be teaching a course in an adjunct status, but he won't be in residence. I said, well, how did he get the term, the title, scholar in residence? They said, well, that was agreed upon by us and him, but we really don't know why exactly. So, I'm just curious. Maybe if you ever talk to Mr. White again, if he ever does have the courage to come down and debate you, would you please ask him why he calls himself scholar in residence?
He won't show up.
When he is not in residence. In fact, he's never even taught there before. But I will say they said that he will be teaching at least one course. In other words, he's like a evening school course guy or whatever.
That's why we say, are the professional liars trustworthy?
Boy, isn't that the truth?
Yes.
And I'm not saying he does have that title. They couldn't tell me why he had it. Evidently they were lying too by calling him scholar in residence because he wasn't in residence.
That's a lifestyle with him.
Boy, it sure is. I'm sure he has some excuse as to why he deserves that title. And by the way, as I understand it, he's not Dr. White either. He's just James White.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of interesting. Not that a doctorate is all that important, but I mean, a scholar in residence, you would think it'd have a doctorate. I'd be a little embarrassed to call myself a scholar in residence. Well, anyway, back to our question here. The Alexandrian cult, of which Mr. White and these folks are a member of, evidently is quite large. I have here in my hand Bookstore